Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch the video. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover today. So do me a favor before we get into these topics. If you end up enjoying this video or finding it informative, make sure you leave it a like. Helps the videos out a lot. And if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We're starting off the video talking about Hogwarts Legacy. The reviews are officially out right now, and if we head over to Metacritic, at least for the PlayStation 5 version of Hogwarts Legacy, it has 42 total critic reviews as of the time of this recording, and it's sitting at a solid 86 on Metacritic. Now, I think Hogwarts Legacy is a game that was going to do well regardless of how it reviewed critically. I think that many people just made the decision it's a game they're going to buy day one and play, but I do think that this is also one of those games where a lot of people wanted to kind of wait and see how it was going to review before, committing to a purchase. And so seeing it sitting at an 86 is really good. And it's not perfect. It seems like there maybe are a few technical issues, but they're relatively minor. And those who have been playing it are saying that it's pretty much, the dream Harry Potter game that everybody was hoping for. So there you go. That's how it's reviewing. Let me know your thoughts on that. Moving on from that, we're talking about Horizon Call of the Mountain and the fact that it has officially gone gold and it's now ready for its PSVR 2 launch. This was revealed by Guerrilla Games over on Twitter. They say, "We are thrilled to share some exciting news today. Horizon Call of the Mountain has gone gold. Not long to go before you can step into the adventure." So yeah, it's good to hear this because we actually didn't get the confirmation that it went gold yet. So there maybe was the slight possibility that could get delayed at the last minute, but now we have that official confirmation and we can say confidently that it's going to be there at launch. I think most people who are planning to pick up PSVR 2 are actually looking forward to this game, so definitely good news. Continuing to talk about PSVR 2, apparently it doesn't require a TV after initial setup. Reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, the PSVR 2 won't require a TV after it has been set up for the first time. This is what Sony confirmed in a newly published Ultimate FAQ for PlayStation VR 2. Amidst a generous supply of specs and details are a number of commonly asked questions that have now been answered. One of those questions asks, "Do I need a TV to use PSVR 2?" Sony went on to confirm that a television is only needed for the initial setup. And they say here a TV is required to set up the PSVR 2 unit for the first time. Once you complete the setup, a TV is no longer required for general PSVR 2 gameplay. Being able to use PSVR 2 without a TV will be hugely convenient for some users. One potential scenario allows for a player to enjoy PlayStation's virtual reality, while another member of their household can still watch TV. So there you go. I think that is something pretty important and worth highlighting here. And continuing to talk about PlayStation VR 2, we are getting confirmation that you can, in fact, play non-VR PS5 games in cinematic mode. This was once again confirmed by the FAQ. It says PSVR owners will recall that this was a feature that was available for playing non-VR games on the PS4, and it's going to return offering a 1080p resolution, which is a big step up from PSVR. HDR will also be supported, although you won't be able to enjoy true 4K resolution at this time. However, there's a big advantage for PSVR 2 cinematic mode in that it will be able to support up to 120 FPS, allowing any compatible games to run at that frame rate. So that's certainly a big upgrade. I don't know how people are necessarily going to feel about the 1080p resolution, but as it points out, it is a big upgrade from PSVR 1, and I'm sure that some people are going to take advantage of the 120 FPS mode. So there you go. Those are the updates I have for you for PSVR 2. Next up, we have an update on the God of War TV series. This is coming from PlayStation Lifestyle once again. They say Amazon Prime's God of War TV series, like The Last of Us HBO, will retain the video game franchise's values while expanding it in a way that those who aren't familiar with the games will still be able to enjoy the show. At least that's what Sony Pictures TV Studios president Catherine Pope has promised. Pope told Deadline that Amazon's God of War TV show is still in the early stages of production, so don't expect it to release until the end of next year at the very least. That said, Pope is impressed by the work that's been done so far and said that the team is hard at work on building and expanding the world for the TV series. Quote, I'm so impressed with what they're already doing in terms of building out that world and expanding, keeping all the values of the game, but also expanding it so that if you don't know the game, it's still going to be a really satisfying show on its own. I think people somehow think it's an easier job to develop IP, but in many ways, it's harder than coming up with an original idea. End quote. So there you go, a small update on God of War. I mean, this is certainly reassuring, and I think after seeing how successful The Last of Us HBO is, it's definitely something that, anybody working on these shows on established IP, they're going to want to keep in mind and try to, stick to it. So at this point, I'm just kind of waiting to hear who they're going to cast as Kratos and Atreus and everyone else. So I'll update you guys when we learn about that. But now we're moving on to talk about The Last of Us HBO and how we're learning that episode 5 will actually release early due to the Super Bowl that's happening this Sunday. So it says here, good news, The Last of Us Episode 5 release date will avoid the upcoming Super Bowl. For the uninitiated, Super Bowl Sunday is one of the most popular televised events in the United States, and understandably, HBO wants to avoid losing a massive chunk of its audience to the game. So now HBO's The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 5, it's called Endure and Survive. It's going to release on February 10th at 9 p.m. So yeah, this is something that you're probably going to want to know if you're somebody who's been following The Last of Us HBO. This is certainly, I think, good news. I think being able to watch the episode, much earlier than you normally would is something that I think, people are going to feel good about and be excited to do. So there you go. Moving on from that, we have an update on PS5 sales. Apparently, sales are up a whopping 98% compared to January of last year. This is coming from Christopher Dring from GamesIndustry.biz, and he says PS5 stock coming thick and fast in January in the UK. PS5 sales were up over 98% compared with the same month last year. This week, God of War Ragnarok is number 2 in the charts, and that's due to rising stock levels. So yeah, this is a massive, massive increase. I mean, this is pretty much a 100% increase in sales compared to the same time period in 2022. And the reason why I specifically wanted to highlight this is because it really does go to show how much the PS5 supply shortage was really negatively affecting Sony sales-wise and kind of hurting the PS5. And now that that's been corrected and the shortage is officially over, we're seeing these just colossal numbers and these massive increases to kind of make up for that lost time. I'm sure Sony's very happy about this, and so we'll continue to see if this momentum is maintained throughout the coming months. We are moving on to the final topic, though, and this is quite a big topic if it's true, or a big scoop, I guess you could say, if it turns out to be true. This is coming from theleak.com, and they were a source that apparently accurately reported on the PS5 Slim. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how trustworthy this source is. We're certainly going to find out, though. But they're saying The Last of Us Part 3 is, in fact, in the works, despite what reports say. They say here, why are we talking about this when Naughty Dog have said it might not happen? In November of last year, well-known leaker viewer Anon, who has a solid track record, posted that The Last of Us Part 3 was in production. This news gave fans of the game a lot of hope, but with the recent hype around the new, well-received HBO show, creator Neil Druckmann stated that they'd only go ahead with Part 3 if they had a story that was good enough. So it says here, how can we go against this official statement? We've been hearing rumblings of a third entry being in the works in November, and in fact, the budget depends on the success of the show. But these rumors remained unsubstantiated. Druckmann has also previously stated that a storyline was already written. Now, our source at Sony, who previously broke the first leak of the PS5 Slim to us, has doubled down and revealed to us that it is indeed in the works, at least according to Sony. Internally, Sony has the title slated as, quote, in progress, end quote, with Naughty Dog as the developer with the game, and the game is categorized as a PlayStation 5 release with, quote, PlayStation 6 in mind, end quote. They say here, before you bring out your torches and pitchforks over us simply mentioning the PS6, a PlayStation 6 release might be due to one simple reason: a AAA title can take up to 4 years to develop, with a console generation lasting approximately 5 to 7 years. If Sony has it marked down as a game with PlayStation 6 in mind, it might indicate that the game will be released at the end of the PS5's life cycle, with an improved version set for its follow-up console, similar to how the original was released, but this time prepared for the next-gen console. So yeah, this is some very interesting news we're hearing, because yeah, Neil Druckmann, pretty much came out and said that what, that reliable insider viewer Annan said, not to necessarily believe it. And then he says, if we have a good enough story, we'll pursue it. And what's interesting is I've seen many of you say that, dude, they're absolutely doing The Last of Us Part 3. And you know what? The more I think about it, it does make sense. And hearing this report, it's kind of easy to believe, because right now The Last of Us IP, The Last of Us name, is on a rise, right? It's doing better than it ever has. It's gaining more and more mind share. It's becoming more popular than it ever has. It makes total sense why Sony and Naughty Dog would see this as the opportune time to pursue a part 3 and not pivot away from The Last of Us, as disappointing as that may be for those who maybe are hoping for a new IP. This also doesn't mean that there can't also be a new IP in the works, but I know some people are going to say this is total nonsense. Why are they talking about a PlayStation 6? No way. I think people really need to try to take a step back and realize that big, massive AAA game development, like what we're going to see with a potential Last of Us 3 or anything we get from Naughty Dog, especially with these single-player titles, they take many, many years. They can take almost an entire, console generation. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of how it is these days. So what I'm taking from this is The Last of Us Part 3 is, in fact, in development at Naughty Dog, and it's going to be a cross-gen game. It's certainly 100% going to release for PS5 if it's real, but I could very well see it coming at a time when maybe Sony is beginning to ramp up the marketing for the PlayStation 6, and maybe this game will be led as a PlayStation 6 game that's just cross-gen. That to me makes a lot of sense, and that would be a pretty crazy start to the PlayStation 6 generation, right? The Last of Us Part 3. Interesting. So there you go. That's all I have for you today. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I'll be interested to see what you have to say. Again, leave the video a like if you enjoyed it or found it informative. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.